And we're live.
Oh, can everyone hear us out there? This is the RPG Pundit, final boss and internet shitlords, and I'm here today, as usual, with Venger Satanis and Job, and we're here for Inappropriate Characters. There doesn't be, hey, there doesn't seem to be a lot of people on the chat yet. I hear that there's been some internet connection issues at some places of the world. Didn't happen here, but I guess maybe that might be the reason, or maybe we just picked a weird day to do it. I don't know. It's the same time as always.
Yeah.
Every 4 weeks. Anyway,
maybe everyone forgot about us with our
yeah,
schedule change, but we'll get everybody up to speed on this stream.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's more people coming in now. Looks like it. That's good. So anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Variety of topics, including at one point we're going to be talking about the weirdest players we've had in our games. But I guess the first topic for the evening is to do with the upcoming D&D source book. Its official name is Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I think here we've been calling it Tasha's Cauldron of Intersectionality. And I don't usually pay too much attention to the newer D&D books, but of course, recently Wizards of the Coast has been going nuts about the importance of emphasizing diversity. They keep doubling down on the wokeness, basically.
Right.
As people keep saying that the wokeness is not enough, and I get the feeling they're going to just keep alienating people.
Well, that's the way it always goes, right? It's just one direction march. You can't turn around. There's no U-turns. One-way street.
That's right.
No U-turns.
And, I think that, anyways, I was watching, I saw this article about the topic. It was on USA Today. Some of you might have seen it. It was, about a week ago, where the title is "Not Just Fantasy Versions of Northern Europeans. D&D's new source book brings diversity to the fantasy world," right? Because we've never had. Yeah, exactly. Because we've never had in D&D anything other than Northern Europeans until now, right? Forget everything else. But it gets funnier, right? Quoting from the article here, it says, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, a 5th edition sourcebook set to debut on November 17th, expands a player's ability to tinker with their character's backstory and abilities inherent to playing a certain fantasy race within the game. And essentially what they're doing, it's really weird because they're so obsessed with the idea of race and the importance of race and what have you, politically speaking. But it sure sounds, from what I've been reading about what they're proposing to do, is that you're going to have, basically race is going to become meaningless in the game. Right. Jeremy Crawford says here, when the player's handbook asks you to choose one of the character types, and maybe you pick elf, everything said about elves is really about creating the archetypal adventuring elf, Elfie McElferson. The thing is, many people want a character that doesn't hew to those archetypes. So apparently in the book, what you'll be able to do is like customize your origin. So you could be like an elf, but with all the dwarf stuff or something like that, like which seems really strange because these guys have been so racially essentialist, right? Like they keep insisting in the real world that race is this like immutable characteristic that is just so defining to everything you are, and that
it changes your whole outlook on life, that you can't even relate with other people anymore or something. I don't know.
Yeah, to the point that they try to claim that math or objectivity, like there's an article that came out a little while ago, not about role-playing games, that was talking about how objectivity in mathematics and the sciences is an element of white supremacy, right? Because apparently if you're not white, then you're not able to be objective in maths and sciences. And this led to this guy, this academic, who said that, look, it doesn't matter how you put it, 2 + 2 always equals 5, right? And he actually got, I think maybe at least hundreds, if not thousands, of Twitter people trying to make these elaborate arguments why, in different cultural contexts, 2 + 2 could in fact equal 5, So like they're so obsessed with this idea that, like, if you're Samoan, then that's the most important thing about your entire existence, and it defines everything you are. But then they turn around and they say, because they also want to imply that races in D&D, like, non-human races, are somehow meant to be racist stereotypes of some sort, and so they want to say, well, actually, you can be whatever. You can do like that. Race has no meaning anymore because you can just put whatever stats you want into the racial bonuses, right? You can choose your what do they call it? It's not background. It's something else that they've been calling it, heritage or something like that, right?
So, right. Yeah. Actually, on Reddit, they've been kind of keeping a thread going on like all of the information that's released. So yeah, for the whole book. So for the race section that you're referring to, the new lineage system.
There you go, lineage. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, for the races, like these are all the race changes. So I'm just going to read them off. New lineage system allows for new customization of characters, including ability score modifiers, disentangling personal traits from cultural traits. Also, players can create completely new custom lineages, disconnected from anything in the player's handbook. The fill-in-the-blanks template, all right, whatever. Removal of negative racial modifiers from Kobold and Orcs from Volo's Guide to Monsters, and presumably in their reprints of those. The lineage system removes racial prerequisites for feats. I'm not sure what if there's any feats that are like super racial, like, I don't know, Elven Bowyery or something. I don't know. But that's going out the window. And then races from the player's handbook are considered the archetypal version of those races, like you were just talking about, Pundit. But the new origins let you create exceptional members of that race. You can apply your ability score bonuses however you like. So
it's all about being special snowflakes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in the chat, we have OSR Fanatic has said something I mentioned in my not my latest video. My latest video was a review, but the one before that, where I was talking about the +1 wheelchair of representation. OSR Fanatic says, soon you'll only be able to play your real self in 5e. Now we all know this is coming, right? Like that's going to be the next big demand that they make on us, is that like you can't play a dark-skinned character if you're not dark-skinned, or you can't play a female character if you don't identify as female, or stuff like that, right? Because obviously it's like the same thing that they've been, trying to push in other media, right? Like in comics, now, if Black Panther can only be written by a Black writer, to the point that there's, there have been some Black comic writers that have been complaining that they're, that are good comic writers, but they complain that nowadays, it used to be that they could write anything, right? They could write Daredevil or whatever, but now anytime that DC or Marvel wants to hire them, they're only allowed to write, they only want them to write Black characters because they're Black, right? Which is really ironic when you think about it, right? Because they're being put into a racial ghetto, not being judged on their talent.
Yeah. I read that article too. I forgot the guy's name. There was like a really good interview by like some comic professional, a Black dude that's been in it for like 30 plus years. And he was just like saying how he's fed up that, Marvel will only let him do that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's changed.
Yeah.
That was
and I think we're going to see that in RPG. We're going to start seeing that, if you play a character that isn't representative of you, then somehow you're engaging in imperialism or colonialism or whatever they want to call it, right? And God help you if on a live stream or something you fake an accent. I guess maybe European accents will still be allowed, but if you try to pretend, to have a non-European accent, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
I already saw some guy the other day that was like trying to claim like Scottish privilege for dwarves or something, because he was like, "Oh, it's a Scottish stereotype."
I heard on Twitter that the latest thing that people are railing about regarding cultural appropriation is, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, the Iago face.
Iago, like from Shakespeare? Othello?
That's how I imagine it's pronounced.
How's it
I'm sure it's
spelled?
not pronounced like that. It's the, what do they call it? Anime or manga or hentai or whatever. But the face of a woman having an orgasm or something like that.
Oh, okay. We're talking about
Well, we
AE,
suddenly
different
got all
wavelengths
into
here, man.
something. But they say that's cultural appropriation of Asian women, and you can't do that. And even if you do it, even if you're Asian, it's still bad. Because it's what, like rape culture or something like that. But if you're not Asian, especially if you're white, it's like the worst thing ever.
Venger Satanis, finding a way to change any topic into hentai.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there are people on Twitter talking about like, well, they were just people railing on Grim Jim again about his consensual play rate role-playing game, and then that whole convention Kids on Bikes fiasco, where that guy was like harassed and kicked out of the convention, and the players were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this happened to us." It wasn't rape or sexual assault at all. It was just a miscommunication, and people were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you would even consider allowing something like that." I'm like, well, if you play Alpha Blue, expect that, your character might get raped. That could literally happen. Don't be surprised if that happens, because that's Alpha Blue.
Some more comments from the audience here.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron the Pedantic answers Job's question, saying there are racial feats in 5e: Elven Accuracy, Bountiful Luck, which is a halfling feat, Flames of Philagathos or whatever, which is a tiefling feat. So there you go.
I just subscribed to Aaron Pedantic. Aaron the Pedantic has a YouTube channel. Subscribers now. So anyone, maybe wants to check him out.
Maybe we
too.
should invite Aaron to be our guest host next episode.
Yeah, if we can't find anyone better.
Okay, there you go, Aaron. That's our little gift to you. We're pimping your channel, and if we find no one better, you will be our guest host. Assuming you agree.
Oh my god.
So this is. I think this is just hilariously funny. It seems so bizarre to me how they've gone like the full circle from this racialist essentialism to suddenly trying to say, oh, but we get to be special snowflakes, and our characters don't get bound by these things, right? Because of course they always have these like inherently contradictory elements to their ideology, right? Which is that, everything is a social construct. Oh, but race is absolutely essential. Those things aren't compatible, right? But they'll just pick and choose what time they want to make which argument.
Right. Same thing with gender. Like being a woman or being a man is like so important to recognize that, but at the same time, gender doesn't really exist. It's just like a figment of your imagination. And so females can be males can be females. A man can have a period, and a woman's penis can be slapping you in the face.
Yeah, no,
that's hysteria.
There is a contradiction in some of their arguments, right? The idea of there being some kind of fundamental femininity that is not defined by the patriarchal definition, right? But the whole strong independent woman thing, and then there being this idea that femininity is just this social invention, right? Anyway, another point in this topic is that it's actually really funny that Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Tasha is one of the kind of iconic characters from earlier editions of D&D, the creator of Tasha's Hideous Laughter, and the character was presented. It's originally an NPC from Greyhawk that is, a chaotic evil wizardess, I guess you could say, right? And one of the things they're doing in this edition, of course, getting back to in fact what Venger was just pointing out, is that in this book, Tasha's going to be presented as not being chaotic evil, right? Because it's trying to break out, again, quoting Jeremy Crawford, they're breaking out from the previous depiction of chaotic evil as a character, reflecting a development of her character beyond that of the oftentimes stereotypical scheming seductress that she was portrayed as in past adventures. You know, so it's really, really funny that they're you know, that because they want to break that stereotype, they're making her now into a character. In fact, they say she has no one single alignment. Her alignment is whatever suits her current plans best, right?
She's alignment fluid.
Then, yeah, I mean, then there is no such thing as alignment in your game anymore, right? And I mean, maybe that's part of their goal because they don't want to say that there's such a thing as good or evil, you know, that they don't want anything to be true. So and you know, lawful is really problematic these days, right?
You know, the next thing I expect them to do is take. I mean, how can they even justify calling something elven accuracy? I mean, that's just racist. Just racist on the face of it. They're gonna have to like throw those things out the window, or dwarves constitution. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So we can see that D&D is evolving into a game where there's going to be no
players,
no racial traits, no real races, and no alignment. That's where the future is going here. Everyone just plays Tumblr people, you know, like we're all unique, special snowflakes and members of Antifa.
Of fluid alignment, yeah.
Yeah, fluid everything, probably.
Fluid everything.
We should just probably write 6th edition for them. You know, it's like the new races are fur, a furry, and I don't know,
lesbian.
A race? I don't know. Could be. We could turn it into a race. Shit, if it pisses
Mermaids.
people off.
Well, lesbian is quickly becoming problematic.
That's what she said.
In the grim future of 2020, everybody is non-binary.
Right? Yeah, lesbians are problematic. I mean, they're brainwashed transgender children.
That's wow. Okay. I became non-binary because I didn't want to take out the trash every week.
Well, you know,
did it work?
You don't, but it's
yeah.
It's you know, it's something that's really happening now. You're seeing, for example, one of the reasons I think that there's been a large number of gay men who have in the last couple of years become supporters of the Republican Party. It's not just because, you know, there have been a couple that have been really exceptional in promoting the idea of walking away from the Democratic Party.
Rubin
and also not just because, you know, Trump has actually been one of the most pro-gay presidents in history, right? And you know, Richard Grinnell was given some of the highest post that an openly gay man has ever had in the U.S. government. But also because the left is basically now saying that, you know, gay men are probably part of the problem, right? Because they won't play ball with all of their intersectionality stuff. They won't do the things that they're being told to do. And that's been going on for a few years, but now you're seeing some of the same stuff with lesbians, right? Especially, I mean, obviously in first case, the trans exclusive radical feminist lesbians, but it's becoming a bigger problem in general because there's another inherent contradiction, right? Like being gay or being lesbian means you're attracted to the same sex, but if sex is this completely fluid construct that just depends on how you feel, then there's a real problem. Like if you're a gay man and you don't want to make love to a man who has a vagina, you know, then you're a bigot, right?
So this is the day that Inappropriate Characters became a gender studies group.
That's right. More comments from the live chat. Dracopol says, Venger used to have a whole pile of chalt made into a doghouse that his wife made him sleep in. He promoted it hard to make it disappear.
Yeah, that was my main motivation. I want the chalt out of here. Get the fuck out, chalt. Get the fuck out.
Aaron the Pedantic says, I think the inherent contradictions in their ideology are designed such that they feel they can win every argument and confuse normal people who see how nuts it is. Well, that's literally what it is. That's going right back to the fundamental core of their entire philosophy, which is the postmodernists of, you know, Foucault and Derrida, who basically said that the way to power is to control semantics, that is to say the definitions of words, and use that to control the narrative. So they want to set up all of their ideology in such a way that they're controlling what the words are, they control what the words mean, and it's set up that you can't possibly win the argument because they have inherent contradictions in their words, right? So no matter what you say, they can claim that you're doing something wrong.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I always thought it was a very elitist, you know, word games. I mean, 50% of the population is really not going to ever be able to fucking engage with these ideas. And I don't know. I kind of think that's why some part of the reason that a lot of this like grievance studies type of crap makes people insane is because some people just, they can't even fucking understand what they're talking about.
Or if their
you can't just change the definitions on dumb people. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck? I don't know. I want to go shoot somebody."
Well, they can be talked. If you can be talked into the fact that men and women don't exist, you can be talked into picking up a gun and shooting, I don't know, John Lennon because the voices in your head told you to, or something.
Part of their goal is also that the standard by which of what they consider correct has to be constantly changing, right? So that even if you get woke circa 2016, by 2018, it's everything that is defined as woke is different. So you're once again problematic, right? You're doing the wrong thing, even if you're doing what was exactly considered the right thing 2 years ago, right? And then 2 years later in 2020, the standard changes again, right? So you always, you're never going to be good enough to not need them to tell you exactly what to do, right? Judd Goswick in the live chat says, if your morality is made to suit your plans, you're evil, or at least a psychopath. Well, exactly. If you've got a character if you have a character, you make a character in D&D that says, well, my character is going to do good things or bad things. They could kill people. They could not. They just really don't care. They're going to change to whatever suits them. I would say, yeah, that's chaotic evil. Tasha is chaotic evil. That's exactly what that would be, right? Because
I think you can make a case for chaotic neutral there, but it's close.
Fuck. Yeah, alignment sucks anyway. I always hated alignment. Fuck alignment.
It's only helpful in like certain times for like spell effects and things like that. But I just want to know the basic fundamental direction of your character, like their philosophy or creed or religion or whatever. I don't need to know like what exactly you would do, you know, if you met a stranger on a train and, you know, wanted to do a deal. I don't need to know everything about that. I just want to know, are you leaning more towards like helping yourself or helping your fellow man, or, you know, what? So in that way, I like alignment, but I don't like what D&D normally does, where pigeonhole everybody into this narrowly defined like box.
I think in the OSR context, alignment is always better when it's done in really broad strokes. So in all of my OSR games, you know, like Lion and Dragon, Arrows of Indra, Star Adventure, I have the 3 classic alignments: lawful, neutral, and chaotic. And those are meant to represent really overarching worldviews. And you know, I make it clear that the vast majority of people are going to be neutral, right? And Lion and Dragon, where there's, you know, magic and the miraculous, you know, the divine and things like that, then their alignment can be quite useful in the sense of it affecting a lot of things to do with, you know, religion and with magic. You have to apply it, right? In the comments, Ace of Spades says, so the 6e Book of Fiends will be a tome full of pre-statted rural white people. That's right. It's going to be renamed the Book of the Deplorables.
They could do that.
And people are really gonna fucking freak out when Brutal Blades comes out, because I have different stats whether you're male or female. So.
Oh snap!
Oh Really?
Here, check it out.
That's
There's the humans.
that's
You
a
roll
crazy
different dice expressions to go from the averages and stuff.
You, sir, have just committed a hate crime in
Right,
the
I
role
know.
playing community.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna cancel you.
Oh well.
Don't worry, you'll still have a home here, Job.
My goodness. Mm.
All right, should we talk about? Should we get to our next topic?
Yeah, I suppose so.
All right, goodbye,
Uh,
Tasha. We're moving on.
Yeah.
Adios, bitch.
So next topic for tonight is this was what Avengers idea. We're going to talk about the weirdest players that we've ever had. And I want, before we start though, because semantics are important, I want to make clear if I understand correctly what it is we're going to be talking about, because there's you can have in your game stupid players, right? Players who are really dumb. You can have annoying players. You can have awful players. You can have weird players. Those aren't all the same thing, right? So we're talking about weird players that are like just strange dudes, right? Is that what we're on, Venture? Is that what you had in mind?
Well, this too can be kind of fluid. You can have some people that are a little bit weird and a little bit like they're actively trying to break the game. And you can have, people that are really bad for the most part, but maybe they're also a little bit weird, or they're a little bit like, there's a whole range, belligerent or just.
Well, I tell you what, since it was you who came up with the topic, how about you give us your story first?
Okay, sounds good. So it was just a few nights ago, actually, that I was running a Chalt game via Crimson Dragon Slayer on Roll20. And so just to give you a little background, I'd say about 1 in 6 of these games, and the things I do on Roll20 are just quick 60 to 90 minutes, text-only one-shots. I make it as open as I can. I click the little drop-in box. So people, if there's space and they see the advertisement or the listing or whatever 5 minutes before the game, they can join up and start playing. Because I want it for people I know and noobs and people that maybe have heard about me or Chalt or something like that. They just want to try it out. So I play with a lot of people I don't know all the time. And about 1 in 6 games, I get like this crazy Russian guy. And it's different. It's all the time different. Because I'm just saying it's not the same guy. But it's like a trope or a stereotype. There's this crazy Russian guy that joins the game, and within a few lines of dialogue, by now I can realize, oh, that's that guy. And so I had one of those guys in this previous game. And so this is how he opens it. After saying hello, this is one of his first texts in the game. He is actually a bunch of spiders dressed as a man, but nobody knows that. So that gives you an idea gave me an idea of what I was getting myself into. And it just kind of escalated from there. He was, because you don't know exactly where they're coming from, like if they're just being weird because they are weird, or if they're trying to troll you in your game, or if they're actually like legitimate assholes that just want to like break your game and make your session suck. I don't think that's the case. I think more it's just they're weird and they're just trying to be themselves, but it's just clashing with the group dynamic and the chemistry. Another thing is sometimes they want to be overpowered. Like this guy, he wanted to be spiders, like a whole bunch of spiders that have this venom. And then later in the game, when they encountered these cyborg commandos, he wanted to use his spiders to like engulf one of them and like take him over. And then they were in the Black Pyramid. So they came to the room with the author in it. And he wanted to screw around with this monkey, and he wasn't getting what he felt he needed to out of the interaction between him and the author and the other player characters. So he was just like, well, I'm just going to bite the monkey and like do all this stuff. And by that time, me and a bunch of other players kind of had enough. And we were all, we kind of breathed a collective sigh of relief after his army of venomous spiders basically got blasted by the author, because he has got like these godlike powers, because he's the author of Shells, like me. And so then he turned into a ghost, and because I didn't want to be too cruel and there's only like 10 minutes of the session left, he's like, oh, can my ghost like interact a little bit with the party and stuff? I'm like, yeah, sure. Because I didn't want him like trying to create a new character for like the last 10 minutes of the game, because who knows what this fucking character would be like. And so he just like tries to say weird crap and subtly antagonize people, NPCs and PCs alike, as a ghost. And then his rambling just got weirder and weirder. And so me and this other guy started talking about ghost spider poetry, and we were laughing about that, and it was just so strange. But yeah, that's what happens. And as a GM, especially when you start playing with new people that you've never played with before, it helps to be able to see this coming a mile away and read the signals and understand that this guy isn't going to play like your other players. You might have to like manage your game as a game master more than you otherwise would. Not necessarily handle with kid gloves or pounce on him if he starts acting out, but you have to be very mindful, and you have to not be afraid to take action in order for the session not to be ruined for everybody else, including yourself.
But was he derailing the game, or did you kind of get him?
Sometimes I would ignore his requests, like when he would say something completely off the wall and stupid, like I after a couple rounds in a failed saving throw, I let him take over the cyborg commander. But then when he wanted to do a whole bunch of other stuff, if he wanted to do something completely crazy, like he was just talking out of his ass, like he wants the spiders to sing some NPC female song so she gives birth to like more spiders, I would just kind of just ignore that. Like I'd be like, haha, and then I would just move on to what the other players were talking about and keep the game going. If you would make more of a normal request, like I use my spiders to try to communicate with this guy using nonverbal means, then I would kind of either maybe allow it if it wasn't going to give him that much of an advantage, or maybe I would make him, roll or give a saving throw to the other guy or something like that. So I would kind of like go back and forth between ignoring him and allowing him to do kind of what he wanted in small doses, so he couldn't like just break the game or become this uber powerful like character that all other player characters and NPCs couldn't hope to match.
All right. So before we continue, I comment from the live chat. Judd Goswick says, the Kender player, always an issue, always a problem. It's true that there are certain classes or races in games or in other, even in non-D&D games, right, the Malkavians and vampire and stuff like that, that that the person who chooses that class or race is probably going to be a weirdo right from the start, just because they seem to be set up for people who want to play weird, annoying characters. And I've run into a few of those for sure. Anyway, Job, what's your story? What's your weirdest guy?
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know. One of my weirdest is probably my wife, but I don't even want to tell the stories about what she does when she's playing games. She makes everybody uncomfortable. It's kind of awesome. But let's see. I don't know. I used to have this one player that was her name. I don't remember. She was a friend of somebody that worked at where I worked at the time, and she joined our group for like a year and a half. It was actually a 4th edition game I was running, and she was always a little weird. Like, I don't know. Looking back, I'm pretty sure she was like, I don't know, maybe partly autistic or something. I don't know. She just had a very strange personality and kind of say inappropriate things that were like apropos of nothing. But so when I did my last game for this, like, I don't know, over a year and a half long campaign, I did up this whole fucking thing out in the garage. Like, I had a fog machine, and I had lights, and I had surround sound speakers, and I had my a soundboard, and then I had a dude that was helping me out that was voicing some of the villains and stuff, some of the NPCs, and we just got really drunk, and I had all my minis, and so I had my Dwarven Forge, and I had got the old Dwarven Forges called Master Maze, I think, at the time. I don't know if they still make it like this, but they had green felt on the bottom, and I don't know. We were drinking absinthe or something, and we ordered a pizza. I left and came and for a while, and then I came back, and she had in 10 minutes she had flipped over like 5 of my Dwarven Forge tiles and started, I don't fucking know why, started peeling all the green felt off the bottom of it, and was like making a puddle of absinthe in front of her and like walking her character through it. And then so I kind of had to, I was just like, okay, like, that's not a cool thing to do. Let's I don't know. And then I don't know, then she kept trying to like bring like kind of sex stuff into everything after that point, because he was pretty wasted. So luckily we were able to get through the end of the game. I got a beach chair, it was like recliner beach chairs, and like laid her down that in my garage. I was afraid she was like gonna puke at the table or something, and we got someone to drive her home. That was probably my worst player like story at the time, was someone who was just like raging drunk at the table fucking with my shit.
Another comment from the gallery here. Aaron the Pedantic says, the I'm weird race of 5th edition is the Tiefling. Usually flamboyant, peacocky, and very rarely anything close to what the archetype represents. I'm old enough to remember when the Tiefling first, came up. And back then it was like it always had this element of like being like what kind of gothy, artsy edgelords wanted to play in 2nd edition, right? So it was never a good race to begin with, right? It was never really what it was meant to be, but at least back then it was like, aha, I'm evil, look at how sinister I am. It's like kind of the master of darkness, whatever, right? And now the Tiefling has just turned into the favorite class of Tumblerinas who have been abandoned by God, it's meant to be like, it's the D&D version of saying, I'm going to intentionally defy all normal human behavior and morality, and I'm just going to make this character that is, a modern day freak, right? So like that's what Tieflings have been the model for, right? And of course, very few people actually play Tieflings, though. Mostly, they're people who are in D&D social media don't actually play, but will have someone will either make one themselves or commission someone to do a drawing of a tiefling and say, look at my tiefling non-binary boy, isn't he amazing? You know, stuff like this. Anyway, I guess it's my turn. And I kind of have two weird character stories, one of which is like weird, and another one is like kind of the awesome weird character. I don't know which one you guys want to hear first.
I want the weird.
All right.
Wait, why don't we put it in the chat room? Oh wait, no, fuck it. It'll take 30 seconds. Never mind.
The weird one is from quite a while back. You know, nowadays I've become, I guess because I'm without a doubt the best known Uruguayan game designer, right? And Uruguay does have a very big gaming community. There's, you know, in the capital here, there's hundreds of players, and they have a very active kind of social network. There's multiple gaming clubs or groups, societies, whatever you want to call it. There are conventions that happen, some of which are, you know, done by these groups, and some of which are even sponsored by like the city government or stuff like that as part of their, you know, social programs. And so there's a lot of interaction between people, right? And from the time that I started publishing games, I've started having, you know, gamers, especially younger gamers, the ones that didn't know me when I first got here, that like when they find out that I'm there, you know, they get like kind of starstruck, right? I've had people that have come up and thanked me for the stuff I've done and stuff like that, right? But back when I first got here, you know, obviously I hadn't written any RPGs yet. I'd started my blog, but you know, that wasn't something that everybody even knew about in the community. So I was just kind of the you know, the Canadian dude, right? And there was this club that existed back then where you could go pretty much 5 nights a week. It was kind of like I mean, they served food and drink, but it was for gamers, right? You'd go there and you'd get a table and you'd play or you'd DM something, and you could reserve a table if you were regularly DMing stuff. And I'd go there quite often back then. And there was this one guy who had started gaming, and it was like really good. Like at this time, I was in my very late 20s, and this guy was probably in his late teens or something, right? And he thought I was the greatest goddamn DM in the world, right? Like he was just, I don't know, maybe he had only played with other, you know, with younger people and shitty DMs or something. But, you know, he was like, he always wanted to be in my games, right? And then we got to when I started a new campaign. I don't remember exactly what it was now. I ran a few, it was a modern campaign. So it might've been like, I did one that was like kind of an Illuminati campaign using the, you know, the GURPS Illuminati setting, or it might have been that one, or it might have been a Call of Cthulhu one, or it might have been I did one about travelers through alternate universes, but I don't remember which one it was. But this guy, he was creating the character and choosing options and stuff, and he started playing. And at some point during the, you know, first session, I realized that the character he made was supposed to be me. Right, like he'd made me in real life as the character that he was playing, right? And you know, at that point, I was like, "Oh shit! You know, this is getting into like, you know, TV movie of the week creepiness. You know, like, what, is he gonna start dressing like me? You know,
you just got single white females.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like so bizarre, right? And the thing is, you know, I would have maybe even been almost more cool about it if it was like meant to be a parody of me, right? If it was like one of my friends that just to like fuck around had decided to do a version of myself, and he would like, you know, it was like a roast or something like that. But this wasn't that. The version of me this guy was playing was a freaking Mary Sue, right? Like as far as he was concerned, he's the greatest thing in the world, right? And it was just like, that was my first stalker, basically. You know, and he was playing in my game.
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really freaking weird, you know? So, yeah,
right,
Aaron the Pedantic says, pundit is about to have a lifetime movie. Sorry?
I don't think that's ever happened to me.
I said, if this was a contest, you just won.
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah.
right?
Even though, I mean, I will always remember ghost spider poetry. Yeah, I think you won, Pundit.
Thank you very much.
That's pretty impressive.
Mr. Triceratops asked, "Did you kill yourself?" Well, no, I didn't actually. The campaign, is in an environment like that, you can't run really long games because people come and go from one night to another. So I did this like for about 3 sessions and then I stopped. And then after I kind of made a point of making sure that guy wasn't, my table was always full and he couldn't join, but it was just so bizarre, right? Now, probably the most awesome weird character that I've had in one of my games is actually quite recently in the last Lords of Olympus campaign I ran. This girl who she had started playing she played in my Dark Albion campaign, in the original one. Her uncle was one of the original players of that campaign, and that campaign lasted like 7 years, right? So she joined in her late teens, maybe in the in the last couple of years of the game, right? And then and it was fine. She was kind of like she was very shy at that time, right? And then we finished that campaign. We started doing a different one. She wasn't there for that one. And then when Lords of Olympus came along, this guy that was in the group, he said, "Oh, my niece would like to play." So I said, "Yeah, sure, okay." And by then she was like 18, right? And this is starting to sound like it's going to go in a very different direction than what it's
you
actually.
Submit this to Penthouse because this sounds familiar.
Nothing like that. But anyways, when she started to play, Lords of Olympus, for those of you who don't know, is it's the game I did as a kind of homage to Amber Diceless. It's a game where you play Greek gods, the children of Greek gods, and it's very high power level. It's a diceless game. It's almost everything you do is done via role playing, and you have it by definition. You can make really weird characters, right? And I started this campaign as like the characters were all they were all newbies, basically. They didn't know, in fact, at the very beginning of the campaign that their real parents had all been Olympians or other Greek deities, and so they all had to start out in different contexts. Right? So I had like one guy who said, "Well, my guy is a hacker for the police. He's like a digital crimes expert." Or another guy who said, "Well, my guy is like an international con artist." I had one guy who's like, "Yeah, my guy is a guy that steals archaeological treasures." And some of them are not from like this, are the modern world. So I had like one guy that was like, I'm from a world where the Roman Empire never collapsed, and my guy is part of the Roman royal family. Like because of the way the game is, they could make up any origin, right? And I knew that something was going to happen here when this chick, she starts by saying, "Well, my character is a teenage girl who lives in the zoo, and she was because she was abandoned there as a child, and she was raised with the hippos, So okay, all right, whatever, right? So I did that, right? I said, okay, well, you were kind of, I don't know, you were fed by a kindly old zookeeper, and you were kind of like you're just living there, and okay, great, right? And then in the game, you also have to make what's called the bidding war, which is your stats are defined by a ranking, right? Like compared to the other characters. So in like might, which is your physical strength, one character might have first place, another one second, another one third. Somebody might not want to have any might at all. So they just have like Olympian level, 0 level might. And this is all done by people bidding points, right? And so when we did the bidding war, she actually came out with the character that was the physically strongest and the best at fighting, right? She had first place in might and prowess. And I had a bunch of extras in the bidding war, which is that that you'd have characters would get to players would get to spend extra points to get certain special details, right? So like one of the things was that you would be the only character that starts out immortal, because immortality is something you have to pay for in the game, and that's what she took, right? So she was already immortal. So it's like, And I decided that the way that she became immortal is because some weirdo came up to her with a golden apple and said, "You eat this," and then she said, "Okay," and she ate it, right? And now she was immortal. It's one of Hera's apples. And as the campaign began, right, like it became really obvious that her character was just going to be absolutely pure id, right? Like anytime someone came up to her and said, "Do this," she'd go, "Okay," and she'd start doing it, right? So she would just go along with whatever was going on. And it in the game, the characters aren't together, right? They're usually, each one is doing their own thing. And sometimes some of them will be in the same place and sometimes they'll be in other places. So each player will kind of have their turn to play. And it got to the point where anytime it got to this girl's turn to play, everybody else was just waiting to see what happened. It became her show basically, because you never knew what was the next freaking thing she was going to do, right? Like she would be like all in with some situation. You know, there's a gunfight in Elon Musk's undersea secret base, and she's in on that. And then she gets distracted by a walrus and decides she wants the walrus to be her pet. So she goes off with the walrus. At one point, she ended up jumping out of a flying chariot because she was pissed off at one of the other players. And so she lands in the middle of the jungle and starts wandering around until she makes her way to, like, she uses her power of hippo sensing to find hippos, and she ends up in she ended up in the private garden of a Colombian drug lord, and she asked the drug lord for help, and it turns out that, you know, he actually knows some other immortals because he's in tight with Dionysus, who's the god of drugs, of course, and so she's waiting to get picked up, but then at some point something goes wrong. She just starts killing everyone and then runs off on a hippo, right? Like, it's stuff like this. And every session for like a year that we played this campaign, you never knew what was the next thing she was going to do. She turned out to be the daughter of Zeus, which I had predetermined at the beginning of the campaign. And so she decided that she was actually going to be the next heir to being, you know, the ruler of Olympus. And she got quite pissed off when it turned out there was a prophecy that Dionysus was supposed to be the next ruler of Olympus. But then she actually met Dionysus. And of course, I had already decided that Dionysus in my campaign was going to be a drug, sex-fueled maniac that was also a complete rando, right? And so when they found each other, it was freaking love at first sight, right? And then she just spent all of her time going on like the craziest adventures with Dionysus. At one point, she had a dance-off with her and Dionysus dancing off against Shiva and Kali in the Indian world, you know, and the prize was whoever won, the other guy would have to add all of their forces to theirs, and so they actually won, and so suddenly they had a bunch of these like Indian gods that were going to help them conquer Olympus, you know, like it was just absolute. It was more gonzo than my DCC campaign. It wasn't meant to be that in the campaign, but she ended up just defining it, right? And just by sheer insanity. Now, most of the other players were playing like this really, you know, like they were playing seriously. They were playing their character in a coherent way, trying to get the advantage in what is a very Machiavellian game, because these games are always very Machiavellian. But then anytime, one of the worst things you could do to the other players was find a way to get her character to be with one of these other players. Because whenever she showed up, everybody's plan was derailed, right? So it became this little contest among the other players to see how they could end up getting her character to where the person they want to mess with is, you know, and that became a whole subsystem of the game, you know, like how can we get her to show up and ruin this guy's whole plan, you know? And really, like that, she was one, without a doubt, one of the weirdest players I'd ever played with, but also one of the most awesome, because it was the perfect campaign for that, because weirdness could happen in a campaign like that. If she'd been playing in a really serious game, it would have been awful, but she realized early on, I guess, that you know, this is a game where you can be weird, and she said, okay, I'm going to take that to 11.
Nice.
Anyways, those are my stories.
That's a good one. I didn't run this game, but I had this girlfriend that I introduced into role playing, and it's a tabletop role playing, and I brought her to this game with a bunch of, you know, works in a basement basically, and she made a dwarven character. I wasn't running this game. I don't know if I said that already, but she made a dwarven character, and her shtick was she would rape everybody, like every single person that she killed, and then she would put a bell in her beard every time she raped somebody, and then she had this like bell. She was a dwarven, I don't know, a barbarian. She was a barbarian with all these bells in her beard running around, and these nerds that we played with were very, very uncomfortable with. Anytime she opened her mouth, they were just like, "Oh fuck!" Shit, they didn't know what to do. They just like, I don't know. They were very uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's weird and then there's creepy, I guess. I don't know. There's a fine line between the two, I guess.
Yeah, that was cool though. Kind of watching her like, because she like went from like, I don't know what the hell this is. I've heard of it. It seems kind of cool to like, oh, I can do anything I want to do. All right, I'm just gonna kill and rape everything and steal everything, and that she went into her murder hobo phase right away. Murder. She was a rape hobo, really, I guess. Murder rape hobo.
We've got some comments from the Peanut Gallery, but before that, I see that it may be getting close to Venger's bedtime. I don't know, unless you've been allowed to stay up later today.
I have not. No.
All right. Well, in that case, before you go, do you want to pimp anything? Want to promote anything?
Just encourage people to pick up Schult, Fuchsia Malaise. The PDF has been out for a few weeks now, and about every week I make another update because it's easy to update PDFs, and it's a big book. It's like 225 pages. So every once in a while, I'll find like, a typo, or someone will suggest like, oh, it would be helpful if you put like a stat block for these guys here. So I'll collect like half a dozen little fixes, and then I'll send that to the layout people, and they'll make corrections in like 3 or 4 days, and then I'll just upload a new version. I still have I'm almost sold out of Schult, the first edition. So
wow.
37 books left. So I encourage people, if they still want one before they're gone, to order soon. Details can usually be found on my blog. Usually in the postscript, I'll just say like, hey, ordering details here, and just put a link to one of the previous blog posts. So
I got a question, Bender. How's your Fuchsia Lives Matter hashtag going on Twitter? How's that treating you?
Pretty good. I don't have the huge following I had hoped that I would garner, but that's okay. Nobody's blown up at me yet and like rage tweeted at me that like how horrible, disgusting I am. So I'm kind of disappointed that didn't happen. But hey,
Venger, is there going to be a print edition of Fuchsia Malaise?
What's that?
Is Fuchsia Malaise going to come out in print?
Yes. Sometime in October, most likely. Late October, early November is when I'll have the books in hand and ready to send out. I've got about another week before I've got to get the files to the printer, and then like 6 weeks later, I'll have 1,000 hardcover books that I'll be hawking like I do.
All right.
Good show, guys. Thanks, and thank you everybody for watching. You guys rock.
Good one.
Catch you on the flip side.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
All right. So some comments from the audience here. Job Sang the Loop says, Job, where do you find your players?
Grinder.
Yeah, I figured. Kevin DeJordy says, this story is so stunning and brave.
Oh my God. All right. I don't know. I can't think. I know I got some more worse player stories, but I don't. Honestly, I'm usually the problematic person at the table at the GM.
Well, I mean, I like a good Gonzo setting, right? So I've made quite a few weird NPCs over the years, without a doubt.
Yeah, I have a
follow-
weird sense of humor. So like, I was running this game, like a DCC game at Gen Con a few years back, and it was like an underwater adventure. So there were these mermen, and all of their mermaid women had been stolen away. They were turned into Melusine. And when you saw them, they were they were mermaid women with two tails, like Starbucks logo or whatever. And they had like white eyes and crazy fangs, and they looked all evil and shit. And then so the players went and they released this thing that was corrupting them in the water, and then they brought him back to the mermen, and it was this guy and his wife, and oh god, I shouldn't even tell this story, but the mermen were all happy, like, oh, we're so joyous. I had earlier on in the story, I had been telling them about how like all the women were gone, and they didn't have any there weren't enough children left to like repopulate their community. So when they came back, they were like they were so happy, and they're like, now our women have 2 of everything. And the woman that was playing just looked at me like she wanted to leap across the table and stab me with her pencil. And her husband was just like, didn't just go there, did you?
Comments here. What was that? Oh yeah,
Justin. I should change my name to the problematic DM.
Justin B says fantasy role playing had a completely different meaning before people joined Job's games.
I'm the reason they made those consent forms.
As far as my weird DMing, if you guys check out Bill the Elf's YouTube channel, he's the player of Bill the Elf in my DCC campaign.
Oh, he has a channel?
I famously do not do live stream games or online games, but he has taken to recording the audios of our DCC sessions. And so if you want an example of the weirdness of my DMing style, then you'll find it there. In our latest session, the characters have been trying to fight the machinations of the evil duck. And the newest NPC that they ran into was a guy named Shirley Temple Schwarzenegger, who was cursed by he believes he was cursed by a wizard. He's a mighty warrior who believed he was cursed by a wizard into having the body of a little girl. But in fact, he doesn't have the body of a little girl. He still has the body of a muscle-bound, badass. But he is mentally convinced that he's in the body of a little girl. So that's kind of the just a small example of the kind of insanity you can find in that game.
Nice.
Anyway, so yeah, check out Bill the Elf's channel.
I definitely will. That sounds pretty cool. I listen to a lot of YouTube while I'm working, so
yeah.
A lot of times, a lot of repetitive tasks. Amateur, so I listen the whole time.
We make no effort in that channel to play to the audience or anything else, right? He just puts record, and we all do our thing. So some of it is a bit politically incorrect, I'll warn you, as you can imagine. But also, it's definitely lo-fi. There's no if you're watching it, and probably that's because of why it'll never have a lot of viewers. But if you're watching it, it's just to see what my games are like, or to find out if Boy is dead yet or not. He isn't, by the way.
Nice. All right, well, I got one more story for you. I got my bad player story, because I played in a game at Gen Con. And I played in this Dark Trails, a cowboy Cthulhu Western type of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, most people I know, you play some genre game and you just reel off some stereotypes,
Yeah.
So I just did like cowboy movie thing, and it was like a with DCC type of based type of thing. It was level 0, so I died like 5 times, and every time I came back, I was like a new type of character or whatever. So like the first time I was just like a Mexican dude with a sombrero and a wheelbarrow. That's what I started with. So I don't know. I didn't care. I just wanted to die or something. So I like did something. I was like, ay, 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 and I like ran in and like attacked this thing and died right away. And as soon as I did that, man, this dude across the table just looked at me like he was gonna stab me. This is a recurring theme with games I'm in, apparently. But my wife kicked me under the table and she's like, I think you did that guy. I'm just talking, I was just like reeling off cowboy movies. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to like be offensive or something. So anyway, so after that, the guy like kept trying to like wanted to kill my characters at the table and shit, and that always makes me go worse, So then I was Herschel the jeweler, and then I was what else was I? I was trying to do my best Woody Allen impersonation. I was. Just whatever, some shit from fucking movie. That was like Cookie. I was Cookie, the old fucking dude. He didn't really get offended by that, but anytime it was like anything that could be like, well, you're a white guy, so you can't like be that stereotype from a cowboy movie. The guy was just like so pissed off, and but I don't know. I can't stop myself. I start pissing. I just got fuck you.
The dude says, Pundit or Job, have you guys ever used central casting? I haven't.
That's a book, right? By who wrote that? Is that Janelle Jacques?
I think maybe it was Janelle Jacques. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've used that one. I don't own it.
Yeah, no, I've never.
I
used
should
it.
though. Why? What's good about it? The dude.
Yeah.
Anytime we ask anybody, it's going to take 30 seconds to see a response.
I
don't know. Have you don't have any problems? You're just a dick online. You're not a dick at the game table, Pundit.
Well, I'm not often a player, and as a DM, I think one of the benefits of not being in the United States, DMing in South America for a bunch of Latinos, is that political correctness is pretty much irrelevant here, right? Like, because they have no white guilt, right? So there's nothing that matters in that sense. Though actually, I tend to my offensive characters are really offensive in ways that don't tend to involve race or sex, right? Like it's as far as NPCs in the DCC campaign, I've had, there's I have Sandy the bikini chainmail warrior, right? Who is like, the stereotypical female barbarian in a bikini chainmail, but she's actually a complete badass, right? And everybody's afraid of her, right? Like even Heidi, who was like the most powerful warrior PC that the campaign ever had,
right?
He was terrified of her, right? Because she was just such a violent psycho, right? So I just played her like totally like that. She wasn't sexy at all, right? She just happened to be in a bikini chainmail. But there's been other stuff. Like I've got there's the Sky Nazis in the Last Sun setting, but they're very obviously the bad guys, but they're also blundering and ridiculous. And I guess there's some things about them that could be offensive to some people. No, I prefer to do a kind of absurdity that isn't necessarily going to be offensive. Probably the worst stereotype I have in my games is that I have this kind of recurring NPC that's appeared in a lot of my games because the players really like him. His name's Smiley, and he's like this large Scottish oaf, that is very unintelligent, and he loves violence, enormous amounts of drinking, and generally acting inappropriately in whatever scenario he can. And he's always asking the other PCs for money because he doesn't know how to hold on to any, right? But like, he's a very beloved character to these guys, right? They just love it, you know. Oh, and of course, in the DCC campaign, I had a group like there, you know, in the DCC, in the Last Sun campaign world, there are animals that are intelligent, that can speak, you know. They're not anthropomorphic, they're not furries, they're literally animals, right? So the players at one point ran into this cartel, of this drug cartel run by a bunch of sloths, led by a crime lord named Slothy Rodriguez. And it was, you know, those were actually, you know, totally the you know, Colombian drug lord stereotype. But, you know, my players ate that up. They totally loved that, you know, like, not a problem at all.
Yeah, actually, I brought my wife to her first Gen Con last year, and he was like, I don't like this at all. Like, everybody's weird at the game tables and stuff, and they're like all, I don't know. It was definitely, she could tell, you know, there was like you know, she's like, I just want to like be myself, and I have to like not be myself around like in public with these people.
You know, I find the US to be an amazing country, but I'm increasingly happy that I don't live there, you know, or Canada anymore for that matter, you know, because it's really like, you know, you guys are just one step away, like, you know, what you imagine it would have been like living in the Soviet Union, you know, like, you gotta constantly be on guard that you don't get informed on to the secret police, you know.
Yeah, the convention staff. Hey, do you want to talk about the combat wheelchair so we can just add like a bonus segment here or something?
Sure, but before that, in the comments, Dracopol says Slowpoke Rodriguez was Speedy Gonzalez's cousin. I want to point out something about that because he says a lot about Latinos, right? In Spanish, it's Lento Rodriguez, right, which means slow Rodriguez, right? And he's the you know, Speedy Gonzalez is one of the most popular cartoons in Latin America.
Really, it's so
not
offensive. What do you mean?
But in its time, it was hugely popular, right? And but Latinos always mention, anytime you bring up Speedy Gonzalez, they always mention that Lento Rodriguez is their favorite character, because unlike Speedy, who is the fastest mouse in the world, Lento Rodriguez is the slowest mouse in the world, but he always carries a revolver with him, you know? So like, that's like, to them, they say, yeah, that's perfect, right? You can just totally see some SJW say, oh my God, that's so racist, right? Like, every Latino I know is like, yeah, that guy was a badass. I love him, you know?
What do they think of the Frito Bandito?
Well, we don't have that here.
You remember that?
That's a poison character. Yeah, you're not going to see
Bandito. The fuck out of here. Okay. All right. We're going to do our super bonus topic for all of our dedicated listeners, watchers, viewers.
Well, I don't know if you guys have seen, some of you I know have seen my video on the what I called the +1 magic wheelchair of what was it? The +1 magic wheelchair of representation. Yeah, exactly. +1 combat wheelchair of representation. And so I've had quite a bit to say about this already. And it was a very highly viewed video. It's also a video that the SJWs found out about and you know, sent a ton of them went and put dislikes on it, which I think is hilarious because, you know, disliking a video is still interacting with the video, and that always helps the algorithm. So, but yeah, I mean, I've said what I had to say there, which is basically that I think this is mostly made for the purpose of being able to not, it's not about using it in the game, it's about being able to say on Twitter that you think it's so wonderful, you know, and that's the central purpose of it.
Yeah, on top of it, that actually, you know, when I got back on Twitter with Hentai Dad 42069, I followed a bunch of people that I wanted to actually follow, and then I just followed the kookiest ass fucking virtue signalers that I could, and one of them was turned out to be this wheelchair lady, Sarah something. I forgot her. Goddamn. But yeah, to build on what you just said, I think past that, I think part of it too is, from what she's been saying, is you know, it was trying to, you know, use the power of victimhood over D&D to, like, for that Sarah chick to get hired or something at Wizards. She's
it's very possible, and I mean, it's obviously very possible that's exactly what's going to happen now, right? Because Wizards loves to show how woke it is, you know.
I don't know if they will. You know, I just actually saw. You remember that chick Kate Welch that they hired a couple years back to?
Yeah.
I follow her on. I don't follow her on Instagram, but for some reason she got recommended in the thing on Instagram, and she was like, "I am leaving Wizards today." Blah 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 blah. So she laid off or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So she's not there anymore.
Well, Satine Phoenix is cooler, so they didn't need her anymore. You know?
What? They got rid of Satine a long time ago, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, they
I don't
did,
know.
dude. Yeah, she's not
maybe.
the community manager anymore. They kind of like parted ways with her. Like it was like a quiet thing. It was the same thing with Kate Welch. Like nobody knows that she's gone. I didn't see any like announcements or anything. She just, if you're on her social media, which I'm not, I just, you know, it was just there was a recommendation. There's some chick like with eyebrows, and I was like, that chick looks familiar, and I clicked it, and then she's like, "This is my last day at Wizards."
Well, you know, I keep saying if you're working for Wizards these days, you're probably, you know, a sucker anyways.
Yeah. But I don't know. I read the combat wheelchair just from like a game design perspective and stuff. Like, I mean, first off, it's just, you know, like it's not even fantasy or whatever. It's very, you know, they're like, it's based on, you know, they have a Paralympian. Like, there's Paralympians in the D&D world. It's like the character class, and then the wheelchair is like this is based on WXC, which I don't even know, what is that, cross country for wheelchairs or some shit? I don't even know. And then like at rugby and murder ball. Like, okay, so now if I use your combat wheelchair now, like I need to bring in the lore of murder ball and like all this other shit. Like,
you know, I commented on my video that I would agree with Sarah Thompson, that's the person who made the product, that it's actually a really stupid argument to say, oh, you know, the combat wheelchair isn't realistic in normal D&D fantasy, because, you know, the Forgotten Realms, you know, like it's not a historical setting. It's already very clearly, and more now than ever, you know, medieval fantasy, Ren Fair fun world, you know, that can have anything in it. So that's kind of irrelevant. But it is also funny hearing these guys trying to argue against that by saying, oh, well, you know, there's been wheelchairs since the 6th century. So of course there could be a wheelchair in D&D, right? Yeah, but, you know, the type of wheelchair that is being talked about there is stuff that really didn't exist until probably our lifetimes, you know, like it's not, you know, and that would require materials that you could never have made in the medieval world.
Exactly.
Again, it's a stupid argument to make, but you know, the counter argument they're doing is perhaps dumber, right? That because there was like a chair with wheels on it that someone else had to push to move you around, that means that you could have a superpowered combat wheelchair that can, you know, hover upstairs and that can do special attacks, you know?
Well, right, yeah. I mean, that's the first thing I was thinking when I was reading this, was like, okay, so what's stopping everybody from getting a combat wheelchair? So like a entire fucking party of combat wheelchairs flying around the goddamn thing, and they can get spider legs, and you get a bone. You could ram people with a thing. You can go 50 feet per. Your movement speed changes to 50 if you're going downhill on a fucking wheelchair. Like, why wouldn't everyone just get a combat wheelchair?
Yeah, I pointed that out in my video too, right?
Oh, you
like
did?
In my
okay.
game,
I sort of watched it, but I didn't take notes. I'm sorry.
That's all right. The combat wheelchair was, if the combat wheelchair was in my DCC game, I could see just the entire party going around in combat wheelchairs, right? Not one of them needing it, because if it gives you the advantage, why wouldn't you? Aaron the Pedantic commented here. He says, I'm surprised you all aren't commenting about the Wizards of the Coast D&D VP spot opening. People are theorizing that Mike Merle's left. I don't know. I hadn't heard that theory yet. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think right now that would just be complete and total speculation, right? Unless Aaron knows something I don't. Maybe he does, but I think that there's probably a lot of VPs that could be gone, right? And it makes me wonder, hearing about the layoffs that Kate Welch is leaving and stuff. I wonder if they're cutting back on the staff there,
Yeah, I don't know. So if they are, that means it's not selling as well or something.
No, I think it's probably still selling well, but they probably have figured out that you can do almost all of what you need to do in terms of their necessity as publishing with having like a couple of full-time staff, and then everybody else is just freelancer earning like peanuts, literal peanuts.
Yeah, well, they figured that out before. After 4E, they just like it flushed everybody.
Yeah.
And then that's how we ended up with this bullshit with fucking Perkins and Jeremy Crawford were like, somehow the last people standing in the room.
There's no talent that are working for tiny salaries.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Same thing that happened in Marvel Comics, for example, right? Like they wanted people that they would pay almost nothing to, that are willing to live, in 6 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. But just to be able to say, look, I'm working at Marvel, It's the same thing with Wizards of the Coast. The only thing if you're working as a writer, a full-time person at Wizards of the Coast, the only benefit is you getting to try to brag about working as a writer for Wizards of the Coast. You don't even get to decide what you write, so like, what kind of a deal is that?
Yeah. Yeah, plus, I don't know. I've heard you talk about working for Wizards before, and it's totally true. I mean, it's...
I got well paid working for Wizards, but that's because I wasn't one of their regular staff,
Yeah. But yeah, they like rewrite everything you write, and they make it worse, and it's just terrible. It's a shit show over there.
Well, I guess this is a good time for the two of us to pimp what we're doing now, and then to start finishing off.
Sure.
Well, right now, like as usual, if you want to support me, you can check out my current products, Lion and Dragon, the Medieval Authentic Companion, or rather the old school companion, Star Adventure, Dark Albion, Cults of Chaos, Arrows of Indra, or any of my 102 issues of RPG Pundit Presents. The latest issue of RPG Pundit Presents is issue number 102, which is The Woodsman. It's a tiny book because all it is a brand new class for Lion and Dragon if you want to play a medieval woodsman. But if that doesn't really appeal to you, there's 101 other issues out there that you could pick up, and they're all on PDF between 99 cents to $4.99. So it's a great way to kind of support me. In terms of what I'm working on, well, there's more RPG Pundit Presents coming out soon. This month we skipped it because there was some background stuff that was going on, and because I've been working a lot on my upcoming next game. There's also, for those of you who've been asking, the next compilation volume is being worked on, but it could still be a while. It's going to be The World of the Last Sun, which is going to be the book that'll have all of the setting stuff for my Gonzo D&D campaign. And what I'm working on right now is an occult modern game, which is going to be based, just like Lion and Dragon's magic system is based on actual medieval texts of what magic is like. This is going to be...
Judd Goswick in the chat room is asking, did you find a publisher yet, or you're still looking?
Well, no, I'm still taking some bids. I'm in discussion with a couple of publishers that are making their arguments of why it should be them, and they're very interesting. I'm still open to hearing other options, though. Surprisingly, neither Job nor Venture have made a proposal to publish my game yet. But
I'm trying to write
I've had some interesting people. Yeah, I've had some publishers that are well known in the OSR field talking to me, but then I've also had some publishers that have not actually published RPG products before, but have published other stuff. I guess the occult side of it is interesting to some people. It's going to be like the occult modern game. It's a game that the game is going to be called The Invisible College, and you are agents of a secret society that is trying to basically save the world and bring about human spiritual evolution, fighting against all kinds of evil, evil secret societies that are trying to use magic to dominate humanity or destroy humanity or turn humanity back into a dark age and stuff like that. And lots of very cool magic. It's an OSR game, but with some serious changes to suit both the subject and the kind of modern setting. It's going to be fairly large. I don't know how many pages it's going to be, but in the Word file I'm working on, it's got more than 250 pages. And yeah, I think it's going to be very good. But of course, it's probably not going to come out for like a year, because even once I do find a publisher, which I think I'm going to decide on fairly soon, it's still going to take a long time to produce, right? But keep an eye open for it. I don't know which will come out first, whether that'll come out first or World of the Last Sun will come out first, but it's in the works anyways.
All right.
What about you, Job? Got anything to
Well, so my next book is coming out from Lamentations of the Flame Princess. It's called The Book of Antitheses. I think, Pundit, you saw a version of that a while back. It was called something else. I forgot what the hell I called it back then, but it's a book of occult magic practice for dungeon masters. And it's coming out through Lamentations, and it's being fully illustrated by Benjamin Mara, who's like a really awesome underground comic artist. Other than that, I'm working on my own game system, Brutal Blades. I've been working on for over a year now. The coronavirus stuff has kind of slowed me down, but I'm back on the horse now, getting up early in the morning and writing and stuff. So hopefully I'm going to get out some... I'm really shooting before the end of the year to get some kind of playtest materials out, so I can get some other people playing it before I do the final print run. But yeah, it's basically I'm trying to visit what do you call it? God, my words have left me. I'm trying to I don't know. I'm channeling masculine archetypes as I work on this book. So it's gonna be super bloody, super violent. This is kind of art. I'm getting death metal art, album artist covers, album cover artists. Whoops, shit. To do my shit. So there's the Warlock, and here's the Thief. I don't know if I showed you guys some of this stuff before, but there's like the Thief. So all the art is like super brutal, bloody shit. And yeah, there's going to be no encouragement to peaceful negotiations with your foes. It's all about fucking killing everything that walks, and on top of it, it's I'm just trying to piss off every single person who wants to tell me what to do.
All right. Well, you've definitely become an inappropriate character now. So since you're publishing with them, do you know if Lamentations of the Flame Princess has gotten over whatever the financial woes they had recently?
Yeah, they're doing a lot better. They're doing better. So that, I don't know. I'll tell you a story if you want, but you guys can watch their way too long streams. But he had a bunch of books that came out. He had a bunch of loans that he had to service, but the books came out in I don't know, the first 15 minutes he sold out of most of the stuff. So he's back in the black as far as I know. As far as he's telling me, and my book is going to be coming out, but it's going to be, the book of Antitheses is actually going to be like a premium type of occult printing type of thing on fancy paper, and there's going to be like a hole in the cover. There's all kinds of shit going on there. So, and it's basically it's a metaphysical nuclear bomb. That's okay. Never mind. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, whatever else you might say about LOTFP, their products are usually very pretty. So
oh yeah, Yeah, this one is going to be pretty. I don't. If you guys just go to like I don't know if it's benmara.com or benjaminmara. I think it's benjaminmara.com. Just Google the fucking guy's name and see some of the art he's got up there. It's pretty awesome. And you know, this is over the top. Some of the monsters I got sodomy nuns and pregnant cannibal children. This is like grindhouse times 11,000. 100.
The dude asks, what is Gonzo? Just whacked out crazy. Well, the dude, Gonzo is, as it's used in gaming, I guess you could say it's kind of an absurd magical realism, where there's like, some people play it as goofy, but it's not meant to be goofy. It's meant to be a bizarre fantasy that is not exactly, it's neither gory nor sinister, but is just about like weirdness, and sometimes going into like the area of comedic weirdness. If you really want to know, pick up some of my Last Son RPG Pundit Presents books, and you'll get an idea of what Gonzo is. Anyways, I guess that's about it for today. So I'm just gonna do the standard spiel for us about our channel here. If you like this video, be sure to click like and to share the video anywhere you think people will like it or will be pissed off by it. Either way is cool with us. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. And if you have subscribed, be sure to hit the notification bell, because we're always doing live streams. And we are going to do live streams pretty much once every 4 weeks. I know we used to do it once every 2 weeks, but it was really messing up my my own channel schedule. So it's my fault, you guys, that I've made us cut back down again. But I think that also means we'll make better episodes. Like I said, in 2 weeks, we're going to have a special guest, which will be Aaron the Pedantic if we can't find anyone better. and so, yeah, just be sure to subscribe and to share the video everywhere. We also have what do you call it, a Patreon. So if you want to specifically support this show, please put some money into the Patreon. If we get enough funds, then Venture will be allowed to stay up past his bedtime. So that's still our big goal here. If you can manage that, then Venture will be very grateful, I'm sure.
I don't think Venture's wife's ever going to let him out.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. Well, you guys will have to. You can put in money into the Patreon and set up a betting pool of how much it'll take for Venture to get an extra 15 minutes.
Hey man, look at the stream when it comes in a couple of seconds. I was just showing off my gold tooth. I got my fucking gold tooth finally.
I saw it. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty funny. Anyway,
here we are.
I guess that's it for today.
That's it.
Unless you have anything you wanted to add, Joe.
Have a good week. No, have a good month until we're back on. When we're gonna be back? We gotta tell everybody about what our changes here. So Pundit is he's afraid that that this channel is getting too big. He's got to work on his own channel. So we're changing the schedule. We're gonna do is it 3 weeks or is it 4 weeks?
4 weeks. Every 4 weeks.
Every 4 weeks. Our next show is gonna be what? What's our next show?
The 27th of September.
27th of September. Okay. So we'll check in with you guys on the 27th of September, and we'll see what level of apocalypse that the world is in by then.
Yeah, really. Like, who knows what'll happen between now and then, right?
Right. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.